The lights dimmed slowly, wrapping the vast America's Got Talent stage in an intimate, golden glow. The murmurs of thousands of audience members filled the air. A blend of excitement, curiosity, and that familiar tension that lives in every audition room. The judges sat in their chairs, a mixture of expressions across their faces. Simon Cowell leaned back, his usual look of skepticism painted clearly, while Sofia Vergara and Heidi Klum smiled encouragingly toward the stage. Howie Mandel tapped the table lightly, as if waiting for something to surprise him. The crowd quieted as a soft, nervous shuffle echoed from the wings. Then out stepped a man. His presence was modest, no fancy suit, no glitter, no big gestures. Just a simple black jacket, neat jeans, and eyes that reflected both fear and determination. He was Filipino, his accent instantly recognizable when he introduced himself. "Hey, my name is Michael," he began softly, gripping the microphone like it was both his anchor and his only weapon. "I'm from the Philippines and I'll be singing an Elvis Presley song." The moment he said the name Elvis, the judges exchanged a few knowing looks. A few audience members even smiled, some curious, others perhaps doubtful. After all, many have tried to impersonate Elvis before, but few had ever captured that elusive mix of charisma, depth, and soul. Simon tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into the faintest hint of a smirk. He'd seen countless tribute acts, most fell flat, lost in mimicry, but there was something quietly magnetic about this man. His humility wasn't nervousness, it was reverence. The music cue came, and for a moment silence reigned. The first soft strum of guitar filled the air, and Michael closed his eyes. When he opened them again, something shifted. His posture straightened, his grip on the microphone loosened, and a calm confidence began to flow through him. He took a deep breath, and then, the first note escaped his lips. It was rich, deep, resonant, the unmistakable velvet tone of Elvis Presley, yet with a sincerity that was uniquely his own. The crowd went still. Simon's eyes widened slightly, the kind of reaction that only came when something truly unexpected happened. Heidi leaned forward in her seat, her mouth open in quiet surprise. Even the camera operator instinctively zoomed in closer, capturing the transformation unfolding before them. The shy man who walked on stage moments ago was gone. In his place stood a performer channeling the heart of a legend. Every lyric carried weight. You could feel the emotion bleeding through his voice, not as an imitation but as a tribute born from love. When he sang the words, "Take my hand, take my whole life too," the crowd's collective breath hitched. It was as if the ghost of Elvis himself was visiting the AGT stage, not through costume or caricature, but through pure soul. The judges were visibly stunned. Simon leaned forward now, chin resting on his hand, eyes locked on the singer as if dissecting every note. But the longer he listened, the softer his expression became. Halfway through the song, the audience could no longer contain their emotions. People stood from their seats, clapping and swaying with the rhythm. A woman in the front row wiped away tears, and the camera panned to Simon just in time to catch him smiling, genuinely smiling. For a man famous for his tough critiques, it was a sight the audience didn't take lightly. As the song built toward its climax, Michael's voice grew stronger, fuller. His eyes shimmered under the stage lights, reflecting years of struggle and dreams carried across oceans. Each note soared higher than the last, and the entire hall seemed to pulse with life. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was resurrection. The King's music lived again, carried by a Filipino voice that sang not for fame but for passion. When the final note hit, the silence that followed was electric. It was the kind of silence that only true awe can create, a heartbeat of stillness before the eruption. Then the crowd exploded. Thunderous applause shook the theater. People whistled, cheered, and rose to their feet. Sophia clasped her hands together, saying something to Heidi through her tears. Howie was clapping and nodding, mouthing, "Wow," over and over. And Simon, the man who had started the performance skeptical, was now standing too. Michael stood frozen, breathless, eyes wide with disbelief. His hands trembled slightly as he held the mic against his chest, almost as if to make sure he hadn't imagined it all. When the applause finally quieted, Simon spoke first. "You know," he began, his voice unusually soft, "I've heard hundreds of Elvis renditions, but what you just did wasn't an impersonation. It was a reminder. A reminder of how timeless great music can be when it comes from the heart." The crowd cheered again. Simon looked at the golden buzzer in front of him. His expression was thoughtful. The kind of look he gives when he knows something special has just happened. Michael tried to compose himself, smiling nervously as he whispered, "Thank you, sir," into the mic. Simon looked back at him and said, "You came here from the Philippines, probably with a dream, and I think this," he gestured to the cheering audience, "is your moment." Then, with one firm motion, he pressed the golden buzzer. The room erupted in chaos and celebration. The familiar golden confetti began to rain down from above, swirling in the lights like stars. Michael's hands flew to his face as tears streamed down his cheeks. His legs buckled, and he dropped to his knees, overcome with emotion. The judges stood and clapped, and the audience shouted his name, chanting and crying with joy. The camera panned across the scene, gold everywhere, shining against his dark clothes, glinting off the stage floor. He looked up through the falling glitter and mouthed a silent thank you to the sky. Perhaps to Elvis, perhaps to his family back home watching, or maybe to the boy he used to be, dreaming of this very moment in a small room somewhere in the Philippines. The music swelled as the confetti continued to fall, and Simon smiled, saying quietly into his mic, "Now that's what this show is about." Behind the scenes, the producers were seen wiping tears as the cameras followed Michael backstage. His mother, who had been waiting behind the curtain, ran to him and hugged him tightly. She cried openly, her words muffled by his shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "You made them believe." He held her tighter, his voice breaking as he said, "For you, for us." The clip of his audition would soon spread like wildfire online, millions of views within hours. People from all over the world commented in awe, writing messages like, "Elvis would be proud" and "Filipino talent never fails to amaze." The story became a symbol of passion meeting opportunity, a reminder that talent knows no borders. In every share, every comment, every replay of that golden moment, Michael's voice reached another heart. And perhaps the most powerful part of it all was not the golden buzzer itself, but what it represented. It was the validation of years of quiet practice, of singing in small bars, of hoping that one day someone somewhere would notice. The dream of a boy from the Philippines who used to listen to Elvis records late at night, memorizing not just the lyrics but the feeling behind every word. That feeling had now carried him to one of the biggest stages in the world, where he reminded everyone watching that music isn't about imitation or perfection. It's about connection. As the video played in reruns, fans replayed the moment Simon's face changed, that precise second when skepticism turned to awe. It became one of those rare AGT moments that transcend competition and touch something deeper. For the audience it was pure magic. For Michael it was destiny unfolding. Later during the post-show interviews, Simon was asked what made him hit the golden buzzer. He said simply, "There's something about him," the honesty in his voice. "You can't fake that. You feel it or you don't," and I did. His comment went viral almost instantly, resonating with thousands who felt the same emotion while watching the performance. Michael's journey after that night would continue. TV interviews, radio features, messages from fans across continents. But nothing would ever quite match that raw moment on stage. The vulnerability, the power, the silence before the applause, all of it became a timeless memory. It was a reminder that sometimes, greatness walks in quietly, without fanfare, dressed in humility. And though his voice echoed like Elvis, what people remembered most wasn't the imitation. It was the authenticity. The emotion that cracked slightly when he sang, the trembling hands, the tears at the end. It was human, real, beautiful. In that hall on that night, music had once again proved its power to unite hearts from opposite ends of the world. A Filipino man sang the songs of an American legend, and for those few minutes, borders disappeared. What remained was only the universal language of passion and soul. When the lights finally dimmed and the stage crew began to sweep away the last pieces of confetti, one small golden piece fluttered down onto the microphone still lying on stage. A cameraman zoomed in on it. A perfect symbol of a dream fulfilled. From Manila to Hollywood, from the karaoke bars of his childhood to the glowing AGT stage, it had been a long journey. But that night, with one song, Michael reminded the world that music doesn't belong to one man, one country, or one era. It belongs to everyone who dares to feel. And somewhere in the silence that followed, after the applause faded and the cameras stopped rolling, you could almost hear it. The whisper of Elvis's voice in spirit, saying, "Well done, kid."